Welcome to the Redirect Podcast, where we dig deep into the digital marketing trends shaping your brand's presence online. We break down what it all means and, more importantly, how you can actually do something about it. I'm your host, Jason Dodge, founder and CEO of Black Truck Media and Marketing. For some audiences, social is the new search, especially for a growing share of Gen Z travelers. Trip planning starts in the feed and not in the search bar. In this episode, I had an opportunity to jump on with Bethany Bee, digital content specialist at Explore Utah Valley and a Gen Z traveler who's visited 6 countries and 10 states in the last year alone. So not only does she work within the destination marketing space, but she's certainly an avid traveler. We cut through the noise to talk about what DMOs and travel brands should really be paying attention to. Everything from TikTok and SEO, creator partnerships to short modular itineraries and seasonal repurposing of content. If your destination or your tourism brand isn't showing up where discovery happens, you're not in the travel plan at all. So let's fix that. So, first things first, if you could do me a favor and just introduce yourself, talk about what you do with Visit Utah Valley and kind of your experience, not only in the DMO space, but also, I think personally too, and just what motivates you to travel.
My name is Bethany Bee. I'm the digital content specialist at Explore Utah Valley. So I do all of our social media full time. I run our influencer campaigns, content creators, things like that. And so I've previously worked in like a nonprofit government space or higher education, which is a little different. And so it's kind of fun to be in this tourism space now. And yeah, people just think we're out here doing fun stuff every day and filling up at resorts, which we kind of are. So it's really fun. But I loved traveling before as well. And I got married recently, and my husband's like a huge budget travel hacking guy, credit cards, all that. And so we've gotten really into traveling the last couple of years. And then kind of like what I learned from my job and learn about the DMO space, I've taken to my own personal travel, and I just really found like a love for it and trying new destinations. So
Well, congratulations, certainly, on getting married. Congrats to that.
thank you. Thank you. Yeah, the
and
Utah
and
way.
and also too just to discovering travel and I think too like there's many of us I consider myself, I guess I'm an older millennial. You and I were chatting
Yeah.
before we started recording. There's a lot of things that we would say to our younger selves, and one of them is probably like, hey, travel more, go see the world, and
Yes.
you're doing that, so congrats on that.
Thanks. Yeah, I think travel is so much more accessible than people think. I think before I ever traveled internationally, I just thought like there's no way. Like Paris is just this big goal. Now I've been twice before I'm 25 because it really is like attainable. And I think
Dang.
just taking the leap and like actually scheduling your travel, like you see a cool TikTok video and like book it, like actually schedule it and plan it. I think it's really accessible.
No, that's awesome. And I think that really helps set the stage for what it is that we're going to talk about on the redirect today, which is diving into how Gen Z travelers are changing the discoverability for destinations. And I'm certainly intrigued by this on a number of different levels, just based off of what we do here at Black Truck and some of our work in the travel and tourism space. But so you would this was all sparked by a post that you made on LinkedIn, and I'm sure it's received a lot of comments since, but you really said that I guess social media is your Google, at least from a first
Yes.
interaction. So
Yep.
I'm curious, what does that look like when you start planning a trip?
Yeah, I even talked to my friends last night because I was curious on their opinions. They both have recently traveled in the States and internationally, and we all said the same thing. We basically see a cool place on TikTok and we save it, and then we plan our trips. Me and my husband will also plan based off like flight deals is usually a good motivator for most Gen Z travelers. I had a ton of friends that just went to Japan and New York because of some crazy flight deals out of the Salt Lake airport.
Dang.
And so I think like flight deals are huge, and then after that, it's pretty much all TikTok. I was curious if it was just me, but no, all my friends said TikTok first, all of them, and I was like,
So
okay,
So I was gonna you kind of answered my question that I had was, and I'm glad you asked like other friends too, is
yep,
what's the first app you open when planning a
yep,
trip? Is it
yes,
TikTok or is it
uh-huh.
other travel apps that you have installed too?
If you go beyond like, okay, you booked the flight, you booked the hotels, because usually for hotels, I'm going for like a deal.
Hmm.
personally. So beyond that, the actual travel, I'm leaving to Dublin in about 2 days, and I realized that I hadn't planned literally anything for Dublin. So if you're someone who needs reservations, be careful when marketing to Gen Z. We're not good about reservations, but I just pulled up TikTok. I looked up Dublin, Ireland, and I just pulled TikToks that were like 15 things to do in Dublin or carousels, and I made a Google sheet and I just started writing down everything from TikTok. And I just watched like 10, 15 TikToks and I was like, perfect. That's my plan.
Dang,
That's my travel plan.
that's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, I'll look up food, things like that, on
Hmm.
TikTok as well.
To kind of break through that, right? There's a lot of name the social platform. It really doesn't matter whether it's TikTok or
Yep,
if you're an Instagram Reels person or YouTube Shorts or
yep.
even you're an active Redditor. There's still a lot of noise out there. So I guess what to you makes a post or a creator trustworthy? Like what makes it trustworthy? Like how are you kind of sussing that out versus
Yeah.
that's not really, I don't believe that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think the more authentic the video is, like it looks like it genuinely they just filmed their trip. They just got back and are
Mm,
showing the actual trip. It doesn't feel like an ad or that it's like highly edited or it's showing this experience like elevated, like it looks real.
hmm.
Obviously you still want something unique and eye-catching, but I want it to look legitimate, like they really did
Yeah.
film their trip. And also like digestibility, like it needs to be like quick and easy. I'll lose interest super quick if it's this whole long vlog that's about their experience. Like, to be honest, I don't care. I just want to hear it was
Nope.
cool. I want to see, like, go to Trinity
Yeah.
College. It's cool. And I'm like, sick. That looks awesome. Like, I'll go. You know, I
Yeah.
want it to be quick information, that's authentic.
That's super helpful. And I would assume that you're the same way. Like maybe if you're a foodie, or I always say like aspiring chefs, d-
Yep.
just give me the recipe. I don't need to hear that this was
Seriously.
like your grandma's cousin's twice
Yeah.
removed, how
Yep.
this all happened. I just need to know, is it two sticks of butter, one? Like
You're
what
right,
is it?
yes. Like on
Kind
social
of the
media, you just sometimes don't have time to tell a story. And so you maybe
hmm.
have to tell the story in like more less in your face ways, like with your visuals, like your visual hooks, your caption hooks. You're not
Yeah,
necessarily like literally telling the story like we used to think it was. Like when YouTube was big 10 years ago, you had to have like a 45-minute video that was like everything you thought on your trip somewhere. And now it's like, I
totally.
literally couldn't care less. I just want to visualize myself in your experience.
I think what really is important is that the key takeaway there is that that content is snackable and
Yep.
digestible. To your point, it's accessible. You mentioned in your post using ChatGPT, but losing trust. So I would be
Yes.
curious, just like let's crush that right out of the gate. Like what
Yep.
caused that?
I feel like ChatGPT, and you can test this by looking up wherever you live, look up top 10 things to do around me. You'll be shocked of what it pulls. It will pull things that aren't even close to you, or it'll pull super random things. There's a few good things that it pulls, of course. But just doing that, I realized like I don't actually trust that this is giving me the cool spots to go eat in, Mateo County when I was in San Fran. I'm like, I don't trust this. Instead, I went to Reddit and I was stalking Reddit. Or I was using AI, but I was using an AI that pulls all the Reddit threads and it tells me the number one most mentioned food spot in Reddit. So like AI is still useful, but
Mm.
like ChatGPT is not a good tour guide yet. Like maybe
It
someday, but right now it's like a grandpa giving you recommendations that hasn't been traveling for like 30 years.
That's right. That's so accurate. And I'm over here like, clapping, right? It's a really good regurgitation machine, but
Yep.
that's about it. And that's kind
Yep.
of how we want to think about it, because garbage in, garbage out. But
Yes.
therein lies, I think, some of the things that you just talked about. There's the opportunity for DMOs, um, and not even DMOs, but also those within the travel sphere and
Yep.
travel adjacent, right? But so how do we make sure that we show up where travelers are already searching? And that's kind of been a big question that I try to pose to brands all the time is, just because ChatGPT is this shiny object and has been for a couple
Yep.
of years now, does it mean that your audience is there searching? So when you kind of poll your friends, our informal Gen Z traveler poll,
Yes.
how do they respond to using ChatGPT or other AI tools?
Think they're using it similarly, like they're just pulling the information they've already got and
Hmm.
maybe throwing some ideas on there, but they actually didn't mention ChatGPT at all when I kind of polled some of my friends um, on how they're traveling. We kind of
Yeah.
sometimes use it to just format our itineraries. Like it is a good tool for being like, here's the locations I have, what timeline could I do reasonably on
Yeah.
this day? But I don't think we're using it to like actually source the original information as often as people might think.
Do you find yourself going to Google and fact checking if you need to? So if something does pique your interest, do you still
Yep.
go and do a search?
I honestly will also I'll look on Google but and like Reddit, but I also will look on TikTok as well.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah,
Yeah.
usually
So
Google first on that since I'm already kind of in like a search engine.
yeah. Yeah, you're in that
Yeah.
search mindset already. And I think that to some extent, some DMOs have an SEO problem from the stance that it's
Yes.
not traditional search. It's not just Google anymore.
Yep.
And we need to think beyond that. It's been that way for a bit, but
Yeah.
we need to move beyond that. But that idea that yeah, when you travel, you're not really Googling anymore. It's a part of the journey, but it's not your
It's not the
sole.
main source. And I
Yeah.
think SEO
So
is huge because Meta just started pulling Facebook and Instagram posts into actual Google search and
yeah.
TikTok and I'm pretty sure Meta have said hashtags are dead. They're kind of like hashtags don't matter anymore, like fun. Like you can try it if you want, I guess, but they don't really care. And
Yeah.
so if you're really using like, and you can use AI, but you really need to hone in your real hooks and your keywording on your captions, because
Hmm.
that's what's getting these posts I'm looking up to pull up at the top. It's not because they have the best likes or information. Even some of them don't even have high likes on them. They just have good SEO keywording, like things to do in XYZ area, 15 things to do XYZ. So, I think SEO actually does matter in organic social a lot more than people think,
I
especially now.
I I agree. There's only a moment of pause there for me as somebody who spent 20 years in the search community of knowing where search was 20 years ago. That does make me a little concerned for the amount of crap that's going to continue to be produced, but
Yeah.
we'll set that on the shelf for right
Yeah,
now.
seriously.
Let's talk about, I'm gonna call it like we call it the restaurant effect, right? So
Yep.
how you're making these real-time decisions on where to go and what to do. So when you're somewhere new, so you're kind
Yep.
of, I always call it like boots on the ground. How do you decide where to go to eat or what to do? Are you looking at reviews or do you just trust what's trending?
Yeah, I asked my friends as well, and the first thing would be like if we know anyone in the area, of course, that's always top, like what they've recommended. I'll even take that and make a Google map sometimes, like a Google My Map, and just like go based off of friends' recommendations. That is still first. I know people, that's always kind of been first, but that is still
Yeah.
first for people. But then second would be TikTok. They all said TikTok as well, looking up like food spots near West Village or food spots near me. When
Hmm.
TikTok doesn't give you anything good, which TikTok's harder when you're physically there. I will look on Google, but I'm not like a crazy read reviews, look for the best spot. If I'm already at the Google search, I'm pretty much just like starving and ready to go eat something. And so I kind of will just go for what looks reasonably priced and has like the highest star rating, but I'm not gonna like dive deeper than that. Um, so it just depends. If I look up the reviews on TikTok and it's trendy, like I am highly motivated. Like I will take the metro for 20 minutes and I will spend $22 on a sandwich. But then at the same time, me and my husband also ate Taco Bell in Finland because we were broke. But then I also will spend, $100 on a nice restaurant if it's trendy and I waited in the line. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah,
um,
yeah. I mean, that answers the question of, would you choose a spot purely based on the fact that it went quote unquote viral?
I
I,
would,
I,
honestly. Yeah, I would.
yeah,
I would
yeah.
even wait in line. I did in New York City last week. I waited in a lot of lines because that just kept popping up on TikTok, and I was like, okay, I have to.
Dang. It reminds me of real early days of social. This goes back to when X was actually Twitter and it was worth
Yep.
something. Um, to date myself, let's go back like '07 to '09 when food trucks were really coming out and you had to follow the food trucks on a social platform, in this case Twitter, to find out where they were going to show up.
Yes. Yep.
Otherwise you didn't know, right? And then that went away, and now all the food trucks round up, and that's a I view
Yeah, we have a resurgence of that. We have like pop-ups now, at least in Utah County. We have these amazing
awesome.
chefs that do these crazy pop-ups and you have to follow them and just it's exclusive. You have to join a text list and get text messages. Or when I was in New York City,
Ah,
Salty Hanks, I think is what it's called. They have crazy hours and there's a line down the street for these sandwiches and you have to be like on it. Or even at Mama Two's in New York, I got this chicken a la vodka sandwich that was viral on TikTok, but you only know that if you follow them. They don't have it on their menu. So I got my sandwich and I'm stoked. It looks perfect. Like it's so viral. And the guy next to me starts fighting with his wife or girlfriend because he's like, I didn't know they had that sandwich. Like, why didn't I get that sandwich? And it was just crazy. I was like, wow, I feel like an insider and I've never been here before, but social media will do that to
dang.
you.
But you do bring up a good point though too, is that it is this combination, this blend, and I do hope that people pick that up, is we're utilizing the platform for awareness and reach, but the just to kind of pull back a piece that you just mentioned, like there was a good mention about first party data, and like, hey, if you're
Yep.
not on our list, you're not getting our SMS text, you're not getting our emails, whatever it
Yep.
is. If I'm not in your inbox as a brand, as a chef, as a marketer, you you're not gonna care, right?
Yes. Yeah. That's still very important. And creating that sense of community is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Especially
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like Gen Z travelers want to feel like a local. It's like embarrassing if you look like a tourist these days. Like, if I'm going to like Europe, especially, I'm looking up what they're wearing. I'll like not wear my eyelash extensions just so I look a little more European. Like we care a lot about authenticity for a generation that's
Wow.
honestly a little bit fake considering we're on social media all the time. So we really care. We want like
Yeah.
the authentic experience. We want to feel like we're living there for a day. I even hack I talked about this on my LinkedIn post, I think, but I'll hack my TikTok page when I'm physically there, and you'll already get served that content location wise, but I will follow all these creators and see what they like do in a day and like what it's like living there, so I can try to have like an authentic experience. Like we very much care about that.
Dang, that's wild. But that's okay, so that side of it, that creator, and that ties in a lot of, I know what you're doing in the Utah Valley too, just in terms of
Yeah.
working with other content creators and collaborators and stuff. And I think that's a powerful
Yep.
cue for DMOs, is you kind of a day in the life, highlight what's
Yes.
buzzing and not just what's listed. Is that a fair
Yeah,
approach?
day in the lives are huge. Even just for demos listening on my Explore Utah Valley account, that's some of my biggest videos is like spend a day in this small town with us or spend a day in this
Yeah,
city. One of our biggest videos last year was with an influencer who travels with her van throughout the US. And it got like 95,000 engagements and like 500,000 views.
nice.
And it was just like spend a day in Provo, and it was just all the crazy unique things. And you kind of think like Provo, like who's gonna who's gonna know where we
What's
are?
going
But they
there?
did.
Yeah.
They were super stoked. So I think utilizing those itineraries and making them fun is essential for DMOs.
Yeah, I absolutely. We'll get to like measuring and the payoff and stuff, because I'm gonna ask some data-driven question here at
Yeah.
the end. But one point too that you mentioned that goes just overlooked, right? We're as a digital marketer, both of us digital marketers in our kind of own disciplines, and we have a lot going on. We wear many hats. We forget to slow down and think about that we really trust other people and what other people tell us. We want to buy from other
Yes.
people and those relationships. And that point that you made earlier about the just when we were talking restaurants, which is um, I'm trusting what my friends tell me, or what my peers tell me. It's not necessarily someone online. It's, oh, hey, Bethany told me that if I'm in New York, I got to go here.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, we'll still use social media. It might not even be friends we've ever met, but we're still gonna DM people that we even have parasocial relationships with and be like, what do you like over there? Or that's why the creators are important because it feels like a friend, even though it's probably a parasocial relationship. But if there's
Yeah,
travel creators we follow that we feel really connected to, we're gonna trust them. And trust a person over even in a DMO, to be honest. I even work for a DMO, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't go to visitor centers. I'm a hater.
that's
I'm not
right.
a hater, but it's just
Oh,
like you're
but
there and
yeah.
it's not the pathway that Gen Z takes and Oh,
Nope.
DMO website is overwhelming to me, even though I love Explore Utah Valley's website. We're amazing, but even then, I don't want to go on other DMOs websites. It's too much. It's a billion events and all these activities, and I'm just like overwhelmed. So I'm just gonna go back to TikTok or Reddit or somewhere easier to digest.
Yeah, those platforms help, and in your mind, right? Those platforms are reducing the friction, whereas the DMO site in many cases is kind of causing friction. It's putting some
Yeah,
blocks up,
there's
some
a lot
walls
of
up. So,
decision fatigue. I saw a quote that said we see like 10,000 videos a day or something like
oh,
that, pieces of content, probably. Insane. And so I think the decision fatigue is there. And so
hmm.
it kind of helps when it's being served to you on a platter instead of having to sort through everything. We get overwhelmed easily.
No, super wise advice that you just provided with that statement alone. So let's talk about your philosophies around your post really I think hit the nail on the head when it comes to, hey, you just put it out there and said it's all about, for me, it's budget flights and premium experiences. And you mentioned it earlier, like
Yes.
I'm willing to drop $100 on a sandwich if I
Yep.
have just this world-class experience, but I'm not going to pay more than X for a flight. Can you discuss kind of that? I want to get into like the trade-off between saving money and spending it on
Yeah.
those shareable moments. Like what really makes an experience feel worth it to you?
Yeah, I feel like yeah, with the flights, I think the people that are also well traveled would usually agree with me on this. Like they would go for a bad flight over going to less destinations. That's maybe
Yeah.
a hot take. I saw a TikTok this morning about it and people said they did not agree, but
Is that a, I'm gonna interrupt you, but does that
uh-huh.
make the assumption that you still get there on time?
You never know. We almost got delayed, but I do have a crazy husband who actually will follow the plane like 5 flights before it gets to us and tell me what's going on.
I
So take
might.
that one
He's
with a
not
grain of
crazy.
salt.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
get it.
he's
I get it.
awesome. He's like, our plane's actually in San Francisco right now. I'm like, we're in New York City and it's fine. So yeah, I will take that, but then I really want to experience the destination when I'm there for all it's worth, especially because I'm usually only there for maybe 2 to 6 days max. Like we leave
Hmm.
for
Hmm.
Ireland and we're going to be there for 6 days. Earlier this March, I was in Finland for 5, so 2 of those are travel days. So usually it is shorter. The trips are
Yeah.
shorter, and so you also feel better spending more money while you're there to really like get your full experience.
Hmm.
Um, and I think budgeting on the actual plane travel helps being able to do that.
Yeah. No, for sure. Are there certain things that stand out to you that are worth the spend? Like what is worth the
Yeah.
spend to you?
For me, I'm like, food is so important to me in travel, and it doesn't have to be like a crazy restaurant that's Michelin star. I met a guy on a plane going to Copenhagen, and he waited like 8 months to get this reservation. That is so not Gen Z. He was like in his 60s maybe. And I love that for him, but I ton of money like on a viral shop that I see when I'm there. Um,
Hmm.
and so I think it doesn't have to be like these 5-star Michelin restaurants. It could be like a mom and pop place that's just like really good or really, really has a cool vibe and good branding. Or
Yeah.
even just like heightened experiences of what you already have. Like I'm from Utah, so nature is important to me as well. Like I'm happy with like a really beautiful area or a good park. Like we love a good park on our trips. So I think some
Hmm.
destinations that maybe feel like, okay, well, they're not New York City. Like you don't have to be. People just want something that feels authentic, that's exciting and new. And yeah, it can be to any level, honestly. I think just like the way you market the experience, it can be
Yeah.
the most silly thing, but people love it, right? And so
Hmm.
I think
Yeah,
it's all about your branding.
I think about myself in that situation too. Like we live in kind of probably similar areas where you're at in Utah versus where I'm
Yep.
at in the upper Midwest. Like it's kind of there's rural areas. I mean, 15 minutes, what do you want to do? Whether you want to get lost in the woods or kayak or whatever. But I think I get charged more when I go to, yeah, Midtown Manhattan, Seattle. I go to a big city, right? I'm surrounded by things that
Yep.
I don't live in every single day. And just to spend a couple days around that, yes. And I'm with you. Food is a massive part of the culture, of your area and of your region. And so
Yes,
I
definitely. Every
yeah,
single
yeah,
area has completely different food and what they're known for, and it's really fun to get to experience that. Especially I'm in Utah, so we're not by the ocean. We don't have good
yeah,
seafood, you know. So
right.
I think the biggest thing is just like being authentic to whatever your area is. Like if you don't have a big city, don't try to have a big city. Don't be the big city experience. Just be the cute Hallmark small town. Or there's a place in Pennsylvania, I met them. They're just bird watching. They're a big bird watching community. That's their tourism. And I'm like, I love that. That's so
That's
sick.
amazing.
So I think just
But
be authentic to your destination.
so often, how frequently is it that that we see it's not always this isn't a DMO problem. This comes from working across other industries too. Yeah, lean into what you are and just stay away from what you're not, right?
Yes, definitely. Yep.
And own it.
Yeah, there's motels. There's like cutesy little motels. People will spend tons of money and fly across the country just to go to this cutesy motel. And it's a motel. Like, are you serious?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, it's crazy. Or the clown motel in the middle of Nevada, you know? You think like, why would someone drive all the way out there? But it's like a huge selling point. So I think, yeah, just being authentic is people can tell when you're authentic. Which it's funny because we
For
talk about authenticity, but you know, with Gen Z, it's like super highly strategized authenticity. But
do we really talk about authenticity as marketers, or are we using it as a buzzword? That's a hot
yeah,
take.
that's
That's
a
a big
hot take.
question, right?
Yes,
Like
yes.
because I
I do
think
think
there's
we're
a
swinging to more like real authenticity
we're
lately,
headed there. We're
but we're
headed
headed
there.
there. But it has been a bit of a buzzword. So I think do with that what you will.
Look, I mean, I can't tell you it's been a couple years, but probably one of the best ads that we ran across Meta platforms. This was for a software company was a POV view, right, selfie style of a gentleman who was reviewing this software for his organization, and it was like a five-star review, right? It was incredible. It was not a polished video at all. It was the most successful ad creative.
Yeah,
And
that's amazing. Yeah, I'm not even
I
surprised.
but you know what? To get brands to do that, to commit to that,
Yeah, they're
oof, is
scared.
really hard. They're
Yeah.
really scared. Yep, yep, absolutely. So for DMOs, or maybe I'm even thinking travel oriented brands, this really means marketing the moments and not the amenities, right? Because
Yeah,
if you're going to skip the
definitely.
leg room, if it's a TikTok worthy sandwich, clearly
Yes.
we need to get our priorities straight.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Okay. No, that's good. All right, so next piece I want to talk about. I like this idea, the 48-hour traveler. So short
Yes.
trips influencing your travel planning, and they kind of push you to do that and to discover things quick. Before we started recording, we were chatting about this. A lot of my trips and travel have been short too. A lot of it's work related, or man, I'm not taking an entire week, obviously, to do this or experience it. So a lot of your trips, Bethany, are just a few days.
Yep.
How do you plan for that?
Okay, this is the one thing I think I had mentioned earlier that's a little shocking about Gen Z is we like don't plan our trips really. And I talked to a guy out of the UK where like those families are planning their American travel like a year in advance, which is like insane to me. And when I messaged all my friends, they say, I just like search up things to do when I get there." So honestly, a good portion of the time, as long as we have a place to stay and we have the flight booked, we'll do very little research until we're in a destination, especially if it's within like a 2 hour flight from Utah
Mm,
or wherever we are. Um, and so a lot of times it's like once we're in the destination, like boots on the ground, looking for things to do in that area, which can help a
yeah,
lot of smaller counties that are promoting because often Gen Z isn't staying in the heart of the city where it's most expensive. And so some of those smaller areas do get a little more love as well.
that's good. That's a good point. So, and you mentioned it before. You're relying on those things. You're relying on those social posts to help
Yep.
build your itinerary. You're obviously taking it a step further by saying, I'm gonna gather all this info, dump it into a Google sheet so I can sort
Yeah,
it
and I
and
only
and
did
kind
that
of
for an international trip. For New York City, I just asked a few friends, and then once I got there, I was like, "Oh crap, I need to figure out what we're doing here." And then I was
yeah.
searching on TikTok in my hotel room. But a huge portion of the time, we're just looking it up while we're there. We're not as big of planners as maybe other travelers.
What what would what would actually help you plan faster then? Like, is we've got short itineraries, lists, videos, or what?
Yep.
I mean, sans TikTok. So let's not think about the platform for a minute, because I think we can execute these things across many platforms.
Yes.
You're running content for Visit Utah Valley. You get it. But
Yes.
like, what actually would help you as a Gen Z traveler plan
Yeah.
faster?
I think listicles are super helpful, but I do think as a traveler, those itinerary-based things are so helpful. It was kind of a
Hmm.
good realization when I'm traveling is we like to group things by like arts and culture or restaurants or nature. But the problem is when I'm like on a trip, I want all of those things. And so when I'm on like a DMOs page, whatever platform it is, and it's grouped so specifically, I get overwhelmed and I'm like, well, I don't know what I want to do. And so those itinerary based like blog posts, social posts, whatever you have, how to spend the 48 hours are actually way more helpful because I can kind of pick and choose from there.
Yeah.
And giving options. Like one thing I've done on our blogs is like 48 hours, but for lunch, I give a couple options. For the afternoon, I give a couple options.
Hmm.
But it's
Hmm.
still more digestible than here's 50 arts and cultures, museums, and plays you can go to. I'm like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I'm overwhelmed.
Yeah, not to mention, I think the arts and culture and just events, those things change so often.
Yes.
I've looked at those too, and I get a lot of value out of it just because it's snackable. I'm like, oh yeah, cool, great. Maybe I have time to take in some live theater or performance. Oh, but realize it's not in season right now. Like
Yes.
we're 6 months out of out of
Yep.
whatever their season is. So it's like, well, there goes that idea.
Yeah,
Um,
seasonality is huge for DMOs. I really push that with my content. I'm posting like it's Christmas for me right now. I know Halloween's in six
yes.
days, but I'm in Christmas. Like it's
Yeah.
Christmas. And so
Yep.
I think just knowing that Gen Z travelers don't plan as far ahead, but having that seasonal content ready ahead of time is really essential. Even if it's just one season. Having your website adjusted, having your social media. I pin posts on our social media for the next season. So I've already started pinning Christmas wish lists or bucket
Hmm.
lists, I mean, on our social media for people that are traveling in.
That's so great to do. Also, I mean, my recommendation always is repurpose that content seasonally because I think about it, if you're in an area that has beautiful fall colors like we're experiencing right
Yes,
now in the upper Midwest, like no offense, but your resort probably looked the same last year in fall
a hundred percent.
as it did this year. Now, obviously that might not be an accurate depiction of what you're going to experience, but also if you're kind of struggling to get out and produce some assets to stitch a video together quickly, why don't you go look in your archive of what you did last year and
Yes, a
maybe
hundred percent.
repurpose it? Yeah.
All of my
Yeah.
content is repurposed. And also, don't be afraid to use the same video clip if it did well, like 4 or 5 years in a row, unless it's outdated. People see 10,000
Right.
plus videos a day. They have no idea they saw your fall video scenic drive post last year.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I'll reuse the same clips even in a 4 week time period of content because, like I said, they consume so much. As long as
Hmm.
you're differentiating your videos, it's totally fine. And yeah, so I'm using fall stuff. I started posting August 1st for fall of last year's colors. And now it's October and people couldn't care less about fall here. It's Christmas for them. And so if you're
Yeah.
not repurposing content, I would even say that you're doing yourself an injustice. Like you are not doing everything you could be for your content.
Yeah, I think too, and even if you are a DMO and you're building content out around that weekend itineraries or 48 hours, that type of stuff, don't I almost have to put my search marketing hat on the shelf for a minute and say, let's not think about it as how are we going to optimize this and ooh, is it going to get devalued in search because it's relatively thin content, etc. It's more about providing that frictionless or friction-free experience to kind of grab and go to take that content. You're going to use it in social, but also it has a spot to live on your website.
Yes, definitely. And for meta ads and
Yeah.
that's huge. It's huge to keep that content for
Yep.
ads.
Yep. Absolutely. Especially if, look, I mean, boosted posts still do some jobs and they should be a part of your
Yeah.
strategy. So
I do,
it,
I do. I know it's a controversial topic that I've never quite nailed down in this industry, but boosted posts, I actually boosted a ton of fall posts and it helped us a ton with
yeah.
profile searches, things like that. So,
Yep, yep.
yeah,
We
it's still
we we
relevant.
rotate them. We rotate them through the same thing. We do have your traditional ads, whether it's a responsive image ad, a video ad. We're also gonna roll up boosted posts in there too,
Yep,
no doubt. Yep,
definitely. Yeah, it's helped
yep.
us a ton, especially that seasonal content that's just really hitting hard for like those 2 weeks or whatever it is. If you have fall colors, utilize that, like boost your post. We got, I think, 30,000 plus likes on a video about fall colors that was just from boosting it as well. Help with that as well. So
That's awesome. So we'll kind of let's talk about what DMOs can learn from this. I think you've given some good tips there, and I'm not going to ask you to give away your secret sauce here, right? Because I
fair.
think that it is okay to keep some of those things close to the vest. But if you could give a DMO one piece of advice as a Gen Z traveler, what would it be?
I would say just posting like listicle style content, reels, carousels,
Hmm.
whatever it would be, and being like very consistent on that. And just you can repurpose them seasonally, but like 5 things to do for this, 5 festivals. Festivals are pretty year round, things like that. Just really start producing that content that's easy to read and has really good hooks. And if you do that, I think you'll see a huge boost in your engagement and following.
Does that type of content, does that build trust for you in a destination's content?
Yeah, for sure. Because
Okay.
as a destination, you can't be a person. And so I think using influencers and creators is really essential. But at the end of the day, people know you're not a person. They know you're a business. And
Right.
so it's like, okay, well, if you can't give me personality and funny content, you might as well give me some information I can use. And I think at the end of the day, the content you're posting is king. If you have a really viral post, no matter what format you post it in, even sometimes the real hook, it will still be viral. And so you can, A/B testing is good, but if you know something does well, like repurpose it, repost it every few months, like dive into what does really well for your destination. Like for us, dates do so well no matter what way I flip it. And so I think just follow what's doing well, no matter
Mhm.
the way that you create the content.
No, I think that's really helpful. Are there, I guess on that note, are there particular, boy, I'm putting you on the spot, but
Okay.
are there particular types of posts that would actually make you book? Like what kind of posts would actually make you book?
Yeah, I think like anything that is super like looks accessible and super trend like cool or unique or like
Hmm.
really beautiful nature like beach shots are more likely to book. There's also always kind of this floating list of destinations we want to visit in our heads. And so sometimes if I start seeing more content, like I started getting videos of the Cotswolds in England and like Boston, and now I'm like genuinely like ready to book a fall trip next year over there. And so I think just I think just like it needs to be it's a hard line because it needs to be unique enough that I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to experience that. But it can't feel so out of my reach. It can't be this crazy Airbnb that's just like $1 billion a night. It needs to feel like
Yeah.
something I could truly experience. And so I think just leaning into that authenticity and accessibility is important to get bookings.
I like that approach and two, I think the lesson there is that your content even needs to speak to like the sub genre or sub niche of travelers.
Yes.
So, because Gen Z is a pretty big blanket, right? But
Yep.
within that, we have different interests and different affinities. And what maybe as your friend, another Gen Z traveler, might not be willing to stay in a hostel where you are, right? And if the only thing
Yes.
that you feature in your post as opportunities to stay on the quote unquote cheap is a hostel, that may turn you off from booking and exploring that area.
Yeah, I definitely think diving into those niches is important for genuinely booking the travel.
Yeah, yeah.
We have
So,
a company here that drives people from all across the US because they are like a geek store. It's literally called We Geek Together. And they won the Guinness World Record of the biggest Dungeons and Dragons game. And you're like, what the heck? It's this store in Provo, Utah. But their niche are these people in that community and they all come out here for it. It's just crazy. So
I
yeah,
just
just
pulled them
drive
up.
your niche.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
I can't even remember how many people it was, but and they're in this mall that is doesn't have as many stores, is kind of less visited, and they are just thriving because they really dove into like their niche.
That is absolutely
Like the
wild.
bird
But
watching
that's
people, drive the bird watchers.
I'm telling you, my hobbies are all I'm for as much time as I spend behind the keyboard as a digital marketer, I'm a hot rodder. That is a passion of mine. I
That's
love to
awesome.
work with my hands, and there's a bunch of nerdy folks like me out there, right?
Oh,
Like
for sure,
we're
yes.
into it. So I
Yes, I
get it.
love that.
So, all right, we kind of talked about, I think to some extent, social is the new search, but for you, but also you're saying I'm not denying that I don't use Google. Like I use
Oh yeah,
Google,
I
and a lot of
totally use
times
Google.
it's validating is really what you're
Yeah,
like
usually Google's like the
legitimizing.
second source to like validate the information I got from social media or to find like the physical locations. I love using Google Maps and I love creating my own My Map to like map out the places I saw on TikTok. So when I'm there, I can look at my own map.
Yeah.
Yeah, Google's still a great source for authenticating the information I found on social media.
It's so important. You can't turn a blind eye to it. And that's not me being self-serving and with changes in search and
No, but
stuff.
I do think SEO has become number one because these platforms are adopting it's AI is able to read these videos and these captions. And I think that if people are ignoring SEO, like that's the worst thing you could do right now as a marketer, I think.
That's no, I I couldn't agree more. I think we all get hung up in these acronyms of AEO and GEO and all of that. Never mind if you go and Google what GEO is,
Yeah.
it's not generative engine optimization, but we have to understand that those things are all layered on top of
Yes.
what SEO is. And at the end of the day, it's a search. It doesn't matter. You and I both we're completely different individuals, but we're searching. We're
Yes.
researching. It doesn't matter the platform. We're
Yeah,
looking for
especially
this
with
stuff.
travel. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. And creators are really this new travel guide, and I think they have been for a long time. Um, Especially like nano influencers and micro influencers and
Yeah,
those types of
I'm
folks.
big on those influencers. I love working with people in a smaller niche.
Yeah, yeah. And I like this idea of short stays. You're looking at some social first content that kind of prompts you when you're like on-prem and you're on site, like where you're going to go from new paths of discoverability. Um, I am curious. So, given your day job, given your
Yes.
background within the DMO space, how do you measure this? How do we measure the success of this? Because I believe I love I love what you're saying, and I like it because it's extremely genuine and it shows the diversity in the path that a traveler takes to get somewhere. It also shows the diversity in the path that a customer would take to buy a product. So,
Yes.
but how do we measure it? How do we show success to the board that this
Yeah.
stuff's paying off?
We personally use data tools that are geo-tracking data tools,
Okay.
and we'll pull like actual data from the areas we promoted. Like we had this farm that we blew up on social to the point that we actually had to pull the post, and we were able to go into those tools and see how many people actually visited and show it was this crazy increase. So we're like kind of pulling KPIs from every single layer. We're going to show like
Hmm.
the social media impact, but then the website conversions, things like that. And then we're also going to pull the data from the geolocation tools to show how much the visitation actually increased. So it's kind of layered. We show kind of
Hmm.
everything because it all has different levels of impact. But at the end of the day, most of what DMOs are doing is awareness campaigns. We're just building awareness for our destinations. And so I think you just have to find where you're at and how much data you can pull. But I think if you're just starting and you can really only show this is how many impressions we got and how many web clicks, I think that is a good start. But if you're able to pull deeper data, that builds a little more trust in your commissioners and your board.
No, I think that's super helpful. And that whole idea of Attribution is hard, right? And it just continues to become harder and harder. I think that was the topic of a talk I gave this last year, actually, at an event you and I both were at, where we had
Yes.
met, and looking at all of the data sources to try and kind of triangulate and
Yes, you're
help
trying to make
provide.
the story. Yep.
Yep, absolutely. And we're not making the story from a fluff perspective. It's just to say we've got
Yeah.
to take data from here, and here to say, yep, that's what we saw.
Yeah, and it's
And
interesting how it can change your perspective. We're actually like dropping a campaign we've done every year because we pulled the data looked good this year. It looked like it performed so well, but when we pulled the actual geolocation data and some of the back end data, we realized no one was actually spending in that part of the destination. They
mm,
were just doing the things that were less expensive. And so
okay.
I think that's where it helped because if you just pulled the impressions and the engagement, we'd be like, holy cow, like we blew it out of the water, but actually we didn't. It was actually
Yeah,
not providing the value we thought it was. And so, yeah, you need to figure out what the whole story is.
no, that's great. I think just kind of as we wrap up here, just a couple different things that I took away that I was kind of tracking through here. Like what I really heard was, if this makes sense, if you're not in the what I call for you page, right,
Yep.
then you're not in the travel plan. To your point, you're not ignoring DMOs at all. You're just saying, I need you to meet me where I'm at.
Yeah, 100%. I do trust DMOs. They just need to be providing content in the way that other organizations are providing content.
Yeah, totally. And
And
it's
that's
not
one
it's
thing I
not
will mention is as a DMO, you do want to promote to your audience because they're your ambassadors. And once they engage with your content, that's actually not a bad thing if your audience is all local because they push it into the explore page, which is then not local anymore. And so don't
That's
be
right.
afraid to push to your local audience. I know that might scare some board members and things like that because you're like, what? This is all locals. But they are your ambassadors and they are the ones that are more highly motivated to engage with your content and then get it pushed out further.
That's a really incredible piece of advice, and I love to hear it, and I appreciate you sharing it too, because it does go overlooked, and that's any organization too, whether you're a DMO, whether you're name the brand, you do need to spend some time, money, and effort on your audience who you've already
Yes.
cultivated, because they're your champions, right? They're following your brand already because they probably like what you're doing or they had a great experience. So help me help you, right?
Yes, definitely. Definitely.
And it's not that travelers don't want what you're creating if you're a DMO or you're a brand. It's that they just can't find it.
Yeah, honestly, they probably just aren't finding it. I think a lot of DMOs fall into the trap of posting like 30 scheduled photos with captions of their area, which is actually my biggest ick as a destination. So please don't do this to me. I will judge you a little bit. And so if you can just be producing more intentionally, then you're more likely to
Mhm.
be reaching that audience.
Yeah, absolutely. Post frequency. I mean, be consistent, but don't think that you've got to post at 2 times a day, every day, a
Yeah.
week. You know what I mean? Like that's not
Yeah,
authentic.
don't
That's
do it at
just
the expense
pumping
of your
content.
content being quality. It's better to take a week break and come back with something good than it is to just keep posting to the to the sphere. There's nothing there, right?
Nope, totally. You're just screaming into the void for sure, for sure. Um, Bethany, is there anything in closing that you want to share, that you want to get a point across? Just, I think working the DMO space, a Gen Z traveler, you're offering a lot of really sound advice, dare I say, like a masterclass in things
Awesome.
that not only DMOs need to pay attention to, but just brands in general could focus on here as well. Is there anything kind of in closing that you want people to think about?
I would say testing tons of different avenues, like looking into automations, like I use ManyChat and that's been huge and like different forms of content. Like I started hiring these people to just go do an experience, film the content. They're not influencers, pay them, a certain amount and they get me back content. And I also have influencers. So just trying like every channel, like not just getting and when I say channel, I don't mean platform like TikTok or Instagram. Just trying tons of different things and strategies to create this overarching brand and success is really important.
No, super, super, super good. And Bethany, really appreciate you and your time today. I certainly am going to drop links to where you can find Bethany online and information certainly about Visit Utah Valley. It is a beautiful part of our country, so I would encourage anybody who's interested to look them up, plan a trip, or follow in Bethany's footsteps.
You can come
And
see us. We'll be
yeah,
featured on The Bachelorette this year, so get
nice.
a little
I'm
preview.
excited to hear how that goes for sure.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. Well, Bethany, thank you so much for your time. I greatly appreciate you joining the redirect. Thanks for listening to the Redirect Podcast. If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss future episodes. You can find the show notes, resources, and past episodes at blacktruckmedia.com/podcast. That's where we dig deeper into everything we covered here on the show. If you've got feedback or a topic you'd like us to explore, we'd love to hear from you. Connect with us at blacktruckmedia.com. And until next time, good luck